Welcome back to BrassTacks. At least 13 people were killed after a bus plunged into the Narmada river in Dhar district in Madhya Pradesh.
The bus was heading towards Pune from Indore when it lost control. It fell off the Kalghat Sanjay Setu after crashing into a railing of the bridge in Dhar. The bus fell more than 100 feet into the river, sinking to the bottom of Narmada. Locals and officials struggled to rescue the people on board.
तमाम प्रशासनिक अधिकारी जो है मौके पर हैं, साथ ही रेस्क्यू टीम एनडीआरएफ की टीम भी यहाँ पे मौके पर है और गोताखोर की टीम भी है और जो है अभी प्रारंभिक तौर पर जो है कुल 13 लोगों के शव जो है वो बाहर निकालने की बात कही जा रही है, हालांकि अभी इसकी किसी ने पुष्टि नहीं की है.
At least 40 people were on board the ill-fated bus. A crane was used to pull it out of the fierce waters.
In another jolt to the Uddhav Thackeray-led Shiv Sena, 12 party MPs are now reportedly in touch with Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, and they are likely to switch sides to his camp. These 12 MPs are expected to fly to Delhi. Shinde himself will be in the capital later tonight. Meanwhile, the Uddhav camp MPs Sanjay Raut, Priyanka Chaturvedi and Vinayak Raut met with Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla before a possible division in the party. After Karnataka, the hijab storm has reached Maharashtra. Some Muslim girls in Washim claim that they were asked to remove their hijab at the examination center for the NEET. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has cited the Supreme Court's order and said that the uniform rule should be strictly followed. The Supreme Court has directed the Uttar Pradesh police to not file or take any precipitative action against Alt News co-founder Mohammed Zubair in connection with the 5 FIRs that have been registered against him in UP. He's already got bail from the Supreme Court in a 6th case, but is under arrest in a case registered in Hathras. The court observed that it seems to be a vicious cycle where the moment Zubair gets bail in one case, another FIR is registered against him. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court will hear pleas challenging the new recruitment scheme of the armed forces, the Agnipath. The central government has also filed a caveat in the top court, urging it to hear the government in the petitions filed before it. The scheme allows youths to serve in the armed forces for 4 years. Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia chaired a one-on-one meeting with heads of airline companies to review flight safety measures. Meanwhile, aviation regulator DGCA has cited incorrect diagnosis of defects and lack of manpower to certify aircraft as the fit for reasons behind the snags. This comes amid a series of incidents of technical malfunction involving SpiceJet Airlines. An India-bound Russian cargo sent by train using the ambitious international North-South transport corridor for the first time has reached Iran. Now, what's the importance of the North-South corridor? It's a 7,200-kilometer long multi-mode transport project. The project primarily is used for moving freight. It has the backing of India and Russia. It reduces the transit time between India and Russia, as well as lowers the carriage cost between India and Russia by about 30%. There were massive protests at a private school in Kallakurchi over the weekend after a Class 12 student committed suicide.
Buses vandalized, stones pelted, clashes between police and protesters. Tamil Nadu is tense after a Class 12 student was found dead in a hostel in the Kallakurchi district.
This complete building that you're seeing in the visual, in fact, the windows being smacked after the stones were being pelted, the school buses that were all been set on fire.
While police are claiming the student died by suicide, her family alleges she was tortured by her teachers. The autopsy report mentioned multiple injuries and hemorrhage as the cause of death. Nearly 200 people have been arrested in connection with the clashes. The deceased student's chemistry and math teacher, as well as 3 school management officials, including the principal, have also been nabbed.
A student taking the NEET medical entrance exam in Kerala claims that she was forced to take off her bra before writing the exam as the metal hooks beeped during a security check. The shocking incident surfaced after the girl's father filed a police complaint. The student's statement has been recorded and the Kerala Women's Commission has registered a suo motu case.
An action took place in the locality that is highly deplorable. Such an incident takes place, we have to take some action against it. probe should be there, proper examination should be there, and action should be initiated against the lady if she has committed such an action.
A second case of monkeypox has been reported in Kerala. The patient is a 31-year-old who returned recently from Dubai. He tested positive in Kannur. The centre has directed ports and airports to ensure strict health screening of all international passengers to contain the spread of monkeypox in India. Heavy rains have left Maharashtra reeling from deadly floods.
Yavatmal is one of the worst affected districts. An orange alert has been issued as the rains continue to lash Yavatmal. More than 900 people have been evacuated from flooded houses in Maharashtra's Chandrapur district. With monsoon at its peak, water level in dams in Amravati have reached a danger mark. More than 100 people have died due to rains and floods in Maharashtra so far this month.
After 70 years, India is set to be the home of cheetahs. African cheetahs will find a new home in the Madhya Pradesh National Park. In fact, it's being brought under the Intercontinental Translocation Project. An MOU will be signed with South Africa. For the program, preparations have been on for housing 12 to 15 cheetahs. From August, the fastest animal on earth was declared extinct in India in 1952. A Delhi court upheld the conviction of Sushil and Gopal Ansal for tampering with evidence in the connection with the 1997 Upar cinema fire, which claimed 59 lives. The court will hear fresh arguments for the quantum of sentence tomorrow. One co-accused in the case, Anup Singh, has been acquitted. The CBI has registered a case against former IOA President Narinder Batra in an alleged corruption case. The agency also conducted searches at his premises in 5 locations in Delhi and Jammu. Earlier this year, the CBI received a complaint alleging that 35 lakhs of Hockey India money was used for Batra's personal benefits. A damning report and new footage indicates police inaction during the mass shooting that took place at a school in Texas in Uvalde back in May.
An overall lackadaisical approach with egregiously poor decision-making. That's how a new investigation report describes the law enforcement response in the Uvalde school shooting. The report repeatedly notes a lack of clear command during the shooting. It lists 376 members of law enforcement on the scene, including many from federal agencies.
There is multiple opportunities, depending on the relative training and experience of law enforcement officers, to at least ask more questions.
But investigators didn't find any responders acted maliciously. In fact, these officers helped children and teachers escape.
I got another gift.
What are we doing here?
The report gives families more answers, but little comfort.
Meanwhile, in New York, there were long queues of people waiting to get the monkeypox vaccine. With nearly 500 cases, the city has become the epicenter of the outbreak of the disease in the U.S., but only 9,200 slots became available on a dedicated website this weekend. Within 7 minutes, all slots were full. The race for the next UK PM is heating up. The Conservative Party leadership contest is now headed to its final stage, and former Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak looks certain to be one of the top 2 candidates to replace Boris Johnson. UK's former Equalities Minister, Kemi Badenoch, is the wild card in this tightly contested race. So where do things stand right now for Rishi Sunak? Round 1 of voting, it happened on the 13th of July. He secured 88 votes, which was the highest of all the candidates. He was ranked number 1. Round 2 happened on the 14th of July. He secured 101 votes in that as well. Again, he led the pack of Conservative hopefuls. In round 3, the voting for which happens on the 18th of July, Rishi Sunak is among the top 5 candidates in the fray, and we will know later tonight where he stands. There are still more rounds to go. On the 19th of July, which is tomorrow, there will be round 4, and on the 20th, there will be round 5. And finally, the final round that happens later this week on the 21st of July, it will whittle down the field to just the final 2 contenders. And the final decision will be revealed on the 5th of September. Russian forces struck Pokrovsk, a city in Ukraine's Donetsk region. The city was hit twice with Iskander-M ballistic missiles, leaving at least 1 person dead and 14 injured. According to officials on ground, 30 buildings in the city were damaged as a result of the strike. The United States has decided not to impose any sanctions against India for purchasing the S-400 missile systems, the defense systems from Russia. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a legislative amendment which waives off any punitive sanctions on India under CAATSA. The US is supporting India amid China's growing belligerence. India has also signed a $5 billion deal with Russia for 5 units of the S-400 air defense systems. Then, President of the United States, Donald Trump, had warned of sanctions in retaliation to this purchase. Sri Lanka's acting president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has declared a state of emergency as citizens struggle to get their hands on basic necessities.
I'm in Colombo at one of the few gas stations that's actually pumping petrol right now. We had to drive around past at least 2 or 3 before we found this one, and we could spot the fact that it was open because the line was stretching not even around the block, but like several blocks down.
In Sri Lanka these days, they say petrol is more precious than gold, which explains the heavily armed guards.
I've never seen anything quite like this. We've been talking to people waiting in these lines, some of them waiting as long as 6 days.
Long queues at fuel stations in Sri Lanka is the new normal.
How long have you been waiting here?
Since Monday, like 6 days.
6 days?
Yeah.
The situation is so dire that many people are ditching their cars and motorcycles for bicycles for their daily commute.
Star England all-rounder and 2019 World Cup final hero Ben Stokes made a surprise announcement that he's retiring from one-day cricket. The 31-year-old said that playing all 3 formats has become unsustainable for him. He will play his last one-dayer against South Africa at his home ground in Durham tomorrow. 20 years after they first began dating, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck got married this weekend in Las Vegas. Lopez took to a website to confirm the news and also shared pictures from the intimate ceremony. The pair called off their first engagement in January of 2004 and then went on to marry and have children with other people. They rekindled their romance last year. Meanwhile, this seaside wedding in Hawaii was interrupted by a series of giant waves crashing into the ceremony. The now viral video shows the guests running in the opposite direction while a big wall-like wave crashes through the wedding reception. And that's a wrap. In a moment, Mario Shakil with News Epicenter.